Welcome to Rabbit Holes with Aaron. This is part two of the special episode where I have four guests on my show. So stay tuned and thank you for joining us.
I have two things. One is for Captain here. I was aviation ground support equipment, so age for the Navy, or rather ASE. So your tug, it brought back memories of the ground support equipment. Our nickname was, or the nickname of the acronym was "Gays Shit Ever," but it was actually really important. And the saying was, "No air support without ground support."
That's true.
So I just want to piggyback off of what you said and say that I resonate with.
That's right.
the
Never
story.
argue with a guy that drives an
beautiful.
8,000-pound tractor.
These tractors are great. The tugs, oh man. And then with Travis, I was reminded of the saying "Memento Mori" or "Remember your death." And I have this poster in my bedroom. It's a frame. And what it
Justin Timberlake.
I wish. Can't anymore. 33, man. The age of Jesus. I gotta get real.
Awesome.
Yeah, life is over. Or beginning. Old life is over. But it's a series of blocks, and each block represents a certain time frame. And I take a marker and mark off, each block, and eventually it's a whole year, and it shows how many years I have left. And most humans live, 65 years an hour, give or take a decade.
I'm shooting for 120, but you do you.
76.
Hey, with today's modern science,
It's
my
probably
level
more
of
than
income,
that.
there ain't
Probably
no
more in the
reason I
60s.
can't stick around on
Yeah,
150, 160.
Exactly.
Well,
I
for
mean-
Travis, but most of us are 76, 78 now.
Yeah, that's fair. So probably 80. My grandma's still in her 80s. My great grandma died when she was 93 or something. But it's just a sobering reminder of
Wasn't your fault, was it?
how much time. No,
They put a
she's
pig heart in a guy.
really sad.
I mean, he
story.
died, but still, they did it.
But then going back to compartmentalizing, that's huge. I do that. It's fun because it's I wake up, I do the whole Jocko thing. Wake up at 4 a.m. Do the 5:30 CrossFit. Talking about CrossFit, but it's very therapeutic for me because it gets me into that warrior mentality, and it allows me to decompress all the crap and exercise that. What's the word?
Demons.
Yeah. Well,
exercise.
Demons. In the Catholic Church, it was the what's that thing where you take cold showers and it sucks?
Hell.
Confession.
I can't remember the terminology. I'm really bad.
The concept of mortification. You purposely do.
Flagellation or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the monks did. Those monks are hardcore.
Yeah.
Gosh. But here in our day and age, we're surrounded by comfort. We can't escape it. You could stay home and just eat food all day, get drunk all day, every day, and who cares?
Right.
I
Lazy
mean,
boy.
pay the bills, but
Unless it's Friday and you had to eat fish.
if you're doing Lent, but in the
Concept of
just being good at being a man, what does that mean for us? Obviously doing the hard thing, doing the workouts in the morning, and then after that, it's okay, now you're still tempted by comfort. So what does it look like? And if you have 40 years, 50 years to go, do you want to be lured into comfort or into consumption? We could say that.
You won't live that long if you're into comfort.
You're not wrong.
So yeah, I mean, it can even piggyback on the idea of retiring early, which is a beautiful thing, but at the same time, it's you're going to encounter yourself and your mortality at the end of the day. And what does that look like for you? And to the topic of remembering your death, of what you said of or I think it was you, Aaron, the car crash thing.
Me.
Yeah. So and this is me probably being really anal about my faith and just my soul. I despise.
I don't think anal's allowed.
I don't think those
Yeah,
things go in the
you
same
know,
sentence, actually.
I'm also a Marine veteran. It's
Well, and you guys have been talking about
Dark
joking
stuff.
around about being gay and all the gay
No,
undertones.
no,
Now you're talking
not
anal.
gay.
That's we got to draw the line. So,
Wait, your soul's not by your anal?
come on, it's a phrase. It's a phrase. Whatever. But this is just me. I don't like driving or doing anything unless I'm in a state of grace. So it's when when you're in a state of sin, and just really sucks. And because technically in the church, if you die in a state of sin, you're gonna likely go to purgatory or even hell.
well,
Ouch.
That's why I'm Baptist, because we don't believe that.
And that's where the Theology.
I could die with a shot of tequila. Pow.
Me too.
Jesus has paid
It's
for
like a
all my
superpower.
sins up front, more than I could ever commit in my life. As long as I do it with the right spirit, I'm not crucifying Christ all over again. Like Paul said, you could do these things, but you don't want to do these things. It's like crucifying Christ all over again for nothing. You don't do that.
And I don't want to bring religion in that much, but it's a part of my world philosophy.
I think it's part of
it
all
ties
ours.
into remembering our death and compartmentalizing. It's all this huge conglomerate of things that is really intricate to be.
So Natalie and I started going to Cowboy Church.
Oh,
Nice.
awesome.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
And something I didn't know about Cowboy Church is, well, you have to check every Sunday because they might have a rodeo going on, and they only have one service that day. And we found that out a couple of weeks ago because we're all right. Let's get all
But is the rodeo in the church?
Oh yeah, no,
Horses
they
just come
have an
in.
arena
Oh,
right
yeah.
next to the church, and
Awesome.
so normally they have a 8:30 a.m. 10 or 11 service, whatever.
Well, that's like
We always go to the second one.
That's
Obviously,
like an
she's the
secure.
timekeeper. I don't,
Yeah.
I'm just rolling for it. Right? But we go to church one day, and we're looking it up. I'm like, oh, there's no church today. It's like, oh, well, they only had one service because they were having rodeo at 11 a.m.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Man.
they're
That's
serious about that.
It's like a 4-day in the military. You're like, dude,
Dude,
I got
this
church
church
over
is-
quick. We said a prayer when we started. We said the Pledge of Allegiance. They brought the flag. Now we get to watch the rodeo.
Oh, this church is awesome. And he's a Marine, and then became a police officer somewhere. I think maybe Carrollton, and I don't remember where. But now he's a pastor. He's awesome though. But definitely really in line with the veteran mentality and all that warrior ethos. He talks all about arming yourself against the devil
I still want to hear about the malaria pill.
I'll say that's a good topic though, because again, I always feel like just having people just like I almost joke like I wish I could be at my funeral because what a party that would be. Because again, at that point, right, like there is the statute of limitations.
Nobody's gonna know, and I'm just gonna hire this guy, all right? He's gonna come up and he's gonna talk about how what a great lover you were. And I'm just gonna be sitting back there just laughing my ass off.
Well,
That's money well spent.
And you're gonna be sitting right there laughing with me.
you know that gif where they got
100%.
the African guys with the coffin on their shoulders, like, ooh,
Yeah.
we're like, hey, Heath is here. The party's on.
I just think like in that moment, like it's like the last kind of like hoorah. But I would just hope that again, like everybody's like, it's not like a sad thing. It's like let me tell you the time, and the kind of sense where like when this podcast started, you're like, what story do you go to? Like, right, 100 stories, but you're like, which one do we start with? And then you just start with one, and then it's just a tsunami. You're just like, oh, I got one better. You're like, how can you top the last one?
Yeah.
But there was actually a story recently. My sisters had told me. So my parents, live out in the Van Alstyne area, but they were telling me that they had like an accident in one of the houses out there, and it exploded. And the husband and wife, they
TIer.
both died. But I was kind of like, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But then in my mind, I'm like, dude, that's the perfect way to go. You're talking about like till death do you part, not probably feeling a lot of pain. Because again, for a lot of people, when their spouse dies, like they're a ticking time bomb at that point. Because now the person that you love the most, your best friend, right, they're gone, and like life is really hard. So I was like,
It's so hard to get back into the dating scene when you're 67.
yeah, right. Like you just at that point, you're trying to find a death buddy.
Yeah.
New term. I'm
Yeah.
putting that on my phone. Death buddy.
I just thought like again, I was like, that was obviously very sad, but I was like, that to me is like the perfect like you went with your spouse, right, and you're going to the next spot. So
No messy cleanup. No, not
So-
for them though. Like I got to go clean Richard up,
Yeah,
like
right, yeah.
off the floor.
100%. So I just always kind of thought like, I know it's a little bit obviously morbid, but you're like, if we're gonna talk about like
Yeah.
again, right, because no one wants to die a painful death, and also in the sense where anybody that dies young, it's sad because it's like life was taken from them. But when they die older, it's
Yeah, dude.
it's nice because they lived a life. But then, in a sense, though, too,
Well, everything's almost a rerun at this point for me.
like when you're like, oh, I have stage 4 cancer, like it puts that timer on you. But then now people see you, they're just like, oh, like so and so's not gonna be here. But again, I think it's that perspective just to know that we all have a time. We don't know what it is, but that's what makes life so incredible. Makes showing up for events and friends because like you just never know. And then the last thing you want to have is that like I should have called them, I should have gone to the party, because then now you got to live with like that, not like guilt, but just being like that life lesson, because life be just giving out lessons all the time, as we know. So, and I think death is one of the most masterful lessons that's out there that can never fully be understood. It can only be like appreciated and like respected, because we're not getting off this floating rock. We're all going to go meet our maker, and the goal is to all be there together. And I saw a photo
Just start at the same time.
yeah. Because you can't have a funeral at the same time, because then people have to pick and choose, and I don't want you.
Who's going to carry?
It's just not responsible partying.
But I saw a picture in the artist. He would take pictures of walk-off home runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have the guy coming around third base, headed from home, and his teammates are waiting there for him to celebrate, the caption was like, "This is what it's like when you make it to heaven, and all your family and friends who are already in heaven,
That's cool,
welcoming you in." And I'm just like, how incredible is that? Like, and again, just that euphoria feeling, just to know that, like, obviously, if you go before everybody else, like, you're gonna be waiting, and you're gonna be like holding it down, or vice versa. Like, when you get there, they're like, all my friends are like, right, the party don't start till I walk in. Like, to have that, and just how incredible that is. So again, to maybe get like a little piece of that here on Earth, like, that's why you go through the bullshit, all the just the deep annoying shit that life throws at you, for those moments being like, this is why you study so hard to pass a test, or to get the job, or whatever it is, your why. When you fulfill that and you get to reap the benefit of celebrating that with like your favorite people, to me, that's one of the like greatest human things that we can do. So, and then when that time does come, people are never looking like, oh, he wasn't around, he was a loner. Again, it's like, what story do you want to start with? Like, where someone start, I promise you're gonna be in tears, and not tears of sorrow, tears because you're laughing your ass off.
Yeah, but I like the aspect of story. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
For me, it's two things: the concept of the communion of saints, and also like grind out that last rep. And for guys too, it's like, don't look at that shitty app, don't touch your dick, kind of thing. It's like, because your grandma is looking at you, she's like, what is this? What the heck? Depression and this.
That's what I was thinking about for a second ago, like your story, and that's what I was trying to get at when I was talking. Like, I don't want my story to be, what was Grandpa doing? Well, he was running away from whatever, the bank robbery or the ambulance or whatever. I want it to be, he turned around, he looked at danger, and he ran as fast as he could to the danger, to help people or whatever, not just to die, but But I think about the story that I leave my children, and my grandchildren. Like, let me tell you a story about Grandpa. And we have shared all kinds of stories of all level of debauchery, and I don't want it to be any of those. I want it to be, do you know how many bullets he took before he died, or that he didn't die, or something like that, or he cliff dived and the shark got him. I mean, something good, not this, he died in a recliner after 30 years of doing the easy things. No,
I guess for me, the reason I want to go that way is because I've got so many projects left unfinished.
I want a break. It's like, give yourself a little rest, Jeff. Okay.
I got so many projects. There's always something left undone, and I think I might need that extra 5 minutes. It's like, oh wait, come here. Did I tell you how much that I thought you sucked? I wanted to make sure I got that out before I croaked. All right, we're good. It's just always that feeling that I'm not finished with it.
Sure.
There's something else I'm supposed to be doing before I got to go. I like walking out of the house to come up here. It's about almost a 2-hour drive to get up here.
Appreciate you making
anything for you, brother. But I was walking out of the house. I was like, do I have this? Do I have this? I should bring this with me too, just in case.
Just in case.
But it's always that one last thing. And then when I get up, I get halfway here and I'm like, oh, I forgot to bring that. It's I guess that's what I'm afraid of. It's not being in control.
It's going to happen. So again, I think just like respecting of like each day that you're given, trying to make the most of it. And it's right, because it seems so cliche. And
that's the real lesson. Thank you for pointing that out. That is the real lesson. Be ready all the time.
100%. Yeah. Well, again, like, you never want to like live in a comfortable zone, or again, complacency, right? Complacency kills. And so many great dreams, aspirations, all the things they die because you weren't willing to be uncomfortable. Like, again, taking a cold shower, going up to the pretty girl and talking to her, to a group full of people, moving states to try for a new, like, for a lot of people, they're like, why would I do that when I have this? And you're like, that's true. But again, you look at the people who have done incredible things, and like, they were willing to go into the unknown,
right,
again, you don't know if you're going to swim or not. You don't know what's going to happen. Then again, too, to have, a good support group. So when shit does, go awry and you're like, I have no idea. They're like, I got you. Here's a place to lay your head, or, here's a meal, or here's an idea, whatever it is. So again, it can't be done alone in that aspect. But again, you can't ever achieve nothing if you don't go out there and put yourself out there. And again, with so much technology, so many things where like, you don't have to leave the house, right? All the video games, the movies, the comfortable AC that you live in, the hot shower you can take. I mean, 100 years ago, people would be like, "You're telling me,
Right?
I can in the closet in my own house."
Like just all the luxuries that we have, and again, like to not just become numb to it, and again, just like give it appreciation. And Kenny talked about just like the driving. Like one thing that I always do every time I get in the car and I'm going somewhere, I always say a quick little kind of prayer. But then also when I get to my destination, I always look up and say, thanks, God. Because that could have been the time that I didn't make it home.
Yeah.
Because, again, so many people just die on their way home from work. They're not dying on the plane to, Tampa to Vegas or whatever. That's, far few in between. It's the little thing that you're like, I do this a million times.
Within a block of the house.
Exactly. And so, again, just like those little things like of gratitude. And I talked it on my podcast with Aaron, but like gratitude is one of the biggest things that I try to express because, again, like it can always be worse. There's things that you're like, you don't even know sometimes like how bad it could have gotten. And because the good Lord looking out for you or a good friend. I mean, again, we've all been there where like, I could have gotten a ticket, a DUI, or, I could have really hurt myself. But a friend was there to be like, I'm going to help you because that's my job. I'm here, everything like that. So again, just like to have that gratitude. And I think it makes things simpler. And by making things simpler, you can enjoy life more because, right, someone's always going to have it better. We use the gym reference. There's always somebody that's in there that's in better shape than you, but that's not why you go to the gym. You go to the gym for yourself to become the best version of you. Also, you can have a goal to chase. Someone to be like, hey, like, how'd you get into that shape? Oh, you do this, you eat this way. Awesome. Like, you can get those tips and tricks, but then it's up to you to decide if that's something you truly want, and then you go after it. Because then when you get there, like, you know that you did that. And that's why I love the gym, because it's a 1-for-1 transaction. No one can lift the weight for you, and you get the benefits. So, and having that mindset just in life, I think it can go really far. And again, it just helps you, again, just have that like perspective and gratitude.
I think most veterans are probably, it's been my observation that most veterans are more comfortable with being uncomfortable than the other people out there. Because first world problems, right? You're like, my internet went out. And you're like, did you die?
Yeah. Or I mean, just like kids now, they're like, I need my iPad. I'm like, go out and dig a hole.
Yeah.
Like, I always joke with my friends that have kids because like they'll like make negotiations with them, and I'm like, I don't make negotiations with terrorists. Like, now could I say that without having kids? But they're just like, trust me, it's easier. I'm like, but again, when we were kids, go out and play until the sun went down. Street lamps came on. That's when you came home. Grab a ball, grab your bike, also give them a little bit of freedom. But I understand, like, the world is a little bit different place, so you gotta respect that. But yeah, I mean, so many, you see there's always on iPad, always on, you're like, dude, like, go and live life. And so many people are not doing that, and you're just, like, missing the opportunity. But again, just trying to instill that at a younger age, I think will help. But I agree with you.
I cried because I didn't have shoes, and then I met a man with no feet. There's always, you got to remember, these are first world problems.
I take the stairs because my legs still work. Because there's veterans whose legs that don't work. Shout out to Lieutenant Dan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Magic legs. But you know what I mean? Like, again, just simple things. But like, I'm in good enough shape where I can walk up these stairs. There are people, again, for like my job, you go to them all the time. Like, they're bedridden, and you're like, I remember one day, like, we went to a call. Person was like, in a wheelchair. That was like their lifestyle, and you just see how they navigate around their room. And it came off like a long shift, and when I got home, I was dog ass tired. But I went for like a 3-mile run because I could.
Because you could.
I was like, the Lord has blessed me.
Like out of gratefulness.
Exactly. Like people are like, you went for a run to feel joy. You're like, 100% I did, and like that's why I stay in shape. To hopefully be a dad, but an active dad. To beat the shit out of my kids in sports because that's what you do, right? But to have that, like, there's so many parents who can't lift their kid up. Like, what kind of shit is that?
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I think just, again, having that perspective to be, and it's not to be like, oh, I'm better than you. It's like, no, I just want to enjoy the things that I had as a kid because I felt like I had a great childhood, and my parents were loving, caring, and they were fit enough to go out and play sports with me and teach good life lessons and all those things. So
yeah,
well,
I know how much it meant to me, so I want that to mean something so much to somebody else.
Yeah, just let Travis get behind you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. All these things, it's the attitude of gratitude. I just recently dug a pond. Well, in Texas they call it a tank.
Yeah.
But it's a pond.
Well, and that clay here that we have in Texas is brutal.
Oh, I went
brutal.
through, yeah, dude. My pond is probably 25 feet across and like 30 feet long and 5 feet deep.
That's pretty good.
And 5 feet deep, right? Well, my neighbor, he's like my best friend now.
Okay.
He has a mini excavator, and he let me
there you
borrow
go.
it. And I was like, I went after it. And all that clay, there was no way I was cutting through it without. I wanted to have a stock pond and put fish in it, right?
Yeah.
And my neighbor, my best buddy neighbor, Noe, shout out to Noe. We've been fishing together, and he catches catfish and crappie and all kinds of fish, right? And the ones he doesn't want to eat, if they're legal to bring home, we just throw them in the stock pond, from the live well to the stock pond, right?
There you go.
Well, due to gratitude, I was like, oh, I got some stock pond fish now, man. Well, I came out the other day and I had 6 baby turtles and 3 big turtles. Guess where my fish went?
To the turtles.
So I'm like, okay, God, I guess I got a turtle pond now. They're fun to watch. I take little pictures. I post baby turtle pic of the day. But yeah, you just got to be willing to go with the flow,
Love
you know,
that,
and
yeah.
attitude of gratitude. At least it didn't dry up.
Well, that, or again, like you just, I don't know much about turtles, but maybe it's better for the environment than the fish, right? Who knows? But
Yeah.
like,
Well, I understand they eat snakes. I'm all for that.
there you go.
I like anything that eats snakes.
Yeah, I don't mess with like big snakes and big spiders. The spider's bigger than my hand. Like that's where I'm like, I got one shot to throw this object at it. Other than that, we're hauling ass.
Or in the
We're all
car.
running.
You
We're all
know,
running.
whatever.
Look at that. I can snatch up and get, but if it's bigger than my hand, I'm
Like
like,
a camel spider or something?
bro, absolutely.
I have this one crazy story in the Marines.
Tell it.
Okinawa, Japan, the tropics, right? It's a tropical island.
I've been there.
There was this, we had this warehouse, and it was just old, musty, dank, dark, you know, kind of just imposing on the landscape. And you had to go in there to get equipment sometimes. It was 990 was the what was it, the work designator. So C73 was my MOS, but 990 was that like sister MOS. It was just this weird thing. I'm not sure it exists anymore. But one day I was walking through that warehouse, dark, imposing, like sense of doom, walking through it. And as I'm walking through it, there's this ledge on the top, and there's an office right here. The corridor is probably the length of this desk to the wall. The ledge right here above the table. I think I walked past the ledge, grabbed the thing, or took the number calculation of the equipment, and then came back. And then from the corner of my eye, and I felt this presence. And it was just, I saw this shadow. It was like the size of 2 hands.
Oh, dude.
Like the hand of a basketball player, and it jumped behind me. I'm just like, what the heck just happened?
Werewolves,
No.
vampires. What do we got?
I'm breaking out the crucifix.
At that point, yeah, it was freaky. Then I left, but very scary moment. And then this other moment, so we had these. So
Was it a spider? Did you know what it was?
it was a spider.
Okay.
It had to be because
Oh, wow.
I think there were
I still don't
jumping
think that's
spiders in
Yeah.
that environment, that locale. Then so 990, it was van maintenance. So view them as a glorified shipping container that is actually an office, right?
Right.
It's like Legos, and
Yeah.
you can stack them, whatever.
Tiny homes. Right?
Basically, yeah, I know, right? We had them in the Marines, and on the outside door, there's a flap that has a filter, so it's just an enclosed space. It's very safe for a spider. So me and a few buddies, for some reason, we found this huge spider. It was same thing, like the size of 2 of my hands, and just really hairy, really pretty, actually, in a weird way.
Was it Lebanese?
Was it a mirror you
That's
were looking
looking
in,
funny.
or
So that's my story, my rabbit hole about spiders.
oh, okay? And you survived.
Yeah.
I survived.
Did you die?
People that like, study spiders and they're like, oh, I love it. I'm like,
Mm.
pass, hard pass.
The spiders of Okinawa, Japan. Good time.
I'm like Randy Jackson from American Idol. That's gonna be a no from me, dog.
Oh, I've seen all kinds of spiders. But let's go back to I'm Gunny time in Omega Delta Sigma and how I got that name. I know we're really spinning it way back into earlier into our podcast, but we got a few names.
Yeah.
And there's a few we haven't got yet that we might not get. I don't know, but Gunny Time, like, and it kind of makes sense. You know, I'm running a podcast. I tell stories. I hear stories. I retell stories that other people have told me. Anyway, so
you do all the, like, when you told me you were doing this, I was like again, like, he's retired. I'm like, hell yeah. Because again, you're talking about how do you not die? You just stay busy. Like, if you keep living. So love that you're doing all these things. And again, just like trying to have that positive impact on other people's lives. Remember, like, I got to make a little clay thing, gave it to a friend.
I remember.
Yeah. And like, she still has it to this day. Like, just one of those like little mementos. But again, like, you took the time just to come see me. I was able to make it. You were helping do the whole process. It was incredible.
White pottery.
Yeah, there's a few things I do. That's one. Pottery. I do beekeeping. I've written a couple books of poetry. That was kind of earlier on. But yeah, I find all kinds of stuff to do, and now I do podcasting. I don't know what's next, so don't ask me. But when it hits,
yeah,
everybody will know.
We'll be here to support.
But yeah, so it started off like with the fraternity, I was telling stories. And that's how I got the name Gunny Time, which arguably one of the most favorable names our fraternity has ever given out. When they said, yeah, we're going to choose your name to be Gunny Time. And I was like, all right, yeah, that works.
It's solid.
No person's name ever, maybe Papaw. And he's sitting over here. I'm the clean one. Yeah. Well, I'm also the only one that anybody that I like. Nobody likes theirs. Go ahead.
Nine Finger Death Punch was pretty.
That was
good.
really
that
good.
was,
Nine Finger Death Punch.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
But yeah.
I'm trying to think. Like, I remember a few of the other people that went through, but I haven't talked to any of them.
Party Foul, Soy Boy.
The one thing,
Kim Trill.
I just
Kim Light.
the thing I regret the most though is why did we not name Jeff Blue? Why did we not give him that nickname?
I think because it's so iconic. But again, like, we didn't want him just to have something that wasn't, original or thought about. In the sense, it does fit incredibly, but again, it's like you have something that no one else has. So, I mean, obviously, I call him Father Time all the time. We didn't give him that call sign, but anytime in my phone, it literally says Jeff Father Time Ramsey.
Okay, so yes, we need to switch this podcast up, and now it's going to be names we should have called people and why. Okay, go, Travis. Why would we call him Blue?
Why?
Yeah.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah.
From
Movie reference.
From old school.
Are you really a veteran? You don't know a movie reference?
What movie?
Old school.
Old
with
school.
Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
It's like Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson.
Dude, there's a bunch of like familiar faces in it, but yeah,
That's a good one.
it's a hilarious, like 2003, 2004, like
Okay.
just pure comedy.
He goes back to college, and he joins a frat.
Well, like but like his
middle-aged.
girlfriend like cheats on him, so then he like gets a dorm room, and that's where he's gonna live. And his buddy's like, "Dude, this is great." Like Vince Vaughn's in it, like he's married, so they're trying to live vicariously through him because he's the single guy on a college campus. They're like, "This is a gold mine," and then they join the frat.
Their own
Well,
frat.
they make their own
they-
frat.
yeah.
And Blue joins the frat, and Blue's like 90 years old.
Nine.
We're talking about death while we're on the topic, right? So Blue dies this wonderful death. It's how I imagine.
Wrestling.
Jelly wrestling with a couple of hot girls. That's how I want to go.
Yeah.
My favorite one was when they were standing on the edge of the roof and they had the cinder blocks tied to their wieners. And they're like, throw the brick! And they're like, they all throw it. And of course, Blue throws his, they all throw his. And one guy, it was like,
It went through
went
a storm.
Like
I'm going to have to
pure-
look it up. I
pure
haven't seen that
comedy.
movie.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Thank you for explaining that and being patient with me.
That's your homework. Next time I see you, you better have watched Old School.
I will.
Yeah, when I was getting my nickname, my call sign, I went back to college after I retired from the Navy. I was like,
Remember we had the alcohol class together?
Oh, it
They
was
banned out of
awesome.
class, dude. Yeah. I was already going to class drinking mimosas and everything anyways, but then we actually, for a summer class, we had a no shit, like...
yeah, it was in the hospitality
Yeah,
degree
it was
thing.
Because it was a
an
college,
elective.
and because it was a college class, it was a shorter term. So it's usually they, break out like, on Fridays they would drink wine, like because it was condensed, we're like drinking different
Because it
wines.
was over summer.
I can't wait to go to class, and then I go work in the VA office. I'm like, it technically was class oriented, so
It was homework.
dude, like again, that was one of the great things when I look back to college was like, getting out. Obviously, sometimes you're like, I should have stayed in. I'd probably made way more money than I do right now, and everything. But then part of me was like, I wouldn't have gotten to experience the things that we did, meet the people that we did. So again, like again,
Yeah.
looking back in life, like you can't have that like the regret. You're like, I'm so glad that I went when I did, and like we did the things that
Sure.
we did because like it made us who we are. But yeah,
Well, I remember when that same class, it was what was it, beverages or something like that. It was for a hospitality degree. It was an elective, so we all took it. It was a summer class, so it was condensed, it was shortened, and you normally had like one taster shot a week, like Heath was saying. But since it was condensed, it gave us three each day, and so we were like, we figured out if you don't eat breakfast or lunch before you go, you could
get a little
get
buzz.
a little good buzz off.
That's why they don't allow veterans in that class anymore.
Oh, well, and they always the instructor. I used to love to make her laugh, that fake laugh, because I drove Heath nuts.
What's the last one?
I'm getting dad jokes. I was slinging them, right? Slinging dad jokes. She's like, yeah.
All things
And
holy,
I look
stop.
I look over at Heath. It's like somebody's scraping nails on a chalkboard. Man.
It's like if you hear those, it wasn't funny to me, but you could tell that she didn't like it, and then I just had to like watch her reaction. I'm just like,
It's like
I'm begging you, just please, just say it to me.
I probably would have stopped, except for I saw Heath's reaction. Remember how veterans like find that one thing and pick at it?
Yeah, there you go.
What
Okay.
degree do you need to have to be a professor of a beverage class?
It was a hospitality degree, and
that
it
we
was
don't
a
have a
sommelier.
PhD in
The
that?
guy with the big
Time to go back to school.
the big hip hop watch thing, the sommelier guy for wine. Hotels
You're
and-
talking about what's his name?
New York.
No.
but no, it's like
I wanted to say Walk of. It's not Walk of
Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav.
the
There we go.
sommeliers are the guys who walk around. You did a dry. It comes from the south of France, and you could taste the swishy around, and you could taste the notes. That's one of these classes, right? And they told us where all these wines and beverages came from, and all.
It
the
is
things.
good like knowledge to
Oh,
have. Instead of
it
like,
is.
what wine do you drink? Red. It's usually white and cold. I don't know what it's called.
It comes in a box.
So to have like an understanding, or like I learned that right, all the champagne is made from Champagne, France. Like
Yeah.
that's where it comes from.
It can't be from
It's-
anywhere else. It'd be
Exactly. So
champagne.
like good knowledge. Or again, like we did some whiskeys and like knowing that like or that EY is from Kentucky, just Y is from usually over like
Scotland.
exactly. So again, understanding like that kind of whiskey is
Scotch, yeah.
Scotch, and the ones in Kentucky that make their husbands beat their wives has an EY at the end.
Not only that, a bourbon has to come from Kentucky and has to be done a certain way in order to be called
Bourbon does, yeah.
Kentucky bourbon. To be
Yeah.
called Kentucky
Yeah.
bourbon.
Yeah, and again, like none of us are good at chemistry, but boy, are we good at drinking it.
Oh, dude, the instructor made the mistake of picking one of the students to hand out this tray that had all the samples on it, right? And it came to, and being good students that we are, we always sat in the very front row, far right.
I earned my seat.
Yeah, front row, far right. So
I love that you remember
furthest-
that.
Oh yeah, the furthest away from the instructor we could get, and so it's like even though she was Asian, she had probably better depth perception and horizontal field of view than we did. But she was sitting up there, and I'd start at the back, and some of these young students would be like, "Oh, here's your sample," and they're like, "No, I don't want mine." I'm like, "Slide that one to the right." And I got all the way down to the front. It's several of them, right? And Nine Fingers Death Punch was with us in that class. It was you, Nine Fingers Death Punch, and me sitting in the front row on the far right. And I got to the front,
Can you imagine?
and I looked over at Heath.
They didn't have extras, I'm guessing.
And I turned my back to the professor and handed the tray to Heath, and he takes one like a good honest boy, and I was like, "Take two, they're small." So
And I would.
He grabbed a couple, and then I went over to Nick, and I was like, "Take two, they're small." So Nick grabs his and pounds it down, and he puts it back on the table right there in front of us. I was like, "No, put it back on the tray.
Yeah,
put it back on the tray."
Back on the tray.
And he puts it back on the tray. I'm like, stack them so it looks like one. I don't want to have like 5 different empty shot glasses on this tray.
Oh my gosh.
That was
You can't let veterans in.
no man, that was epic. But again, just like to do the college experience with experience under your belt and stories. I mean, it just made for a better time. And again, you just appreciate it because again, thankfully we didn't have to quote unquote pay the tuition or anything. Obviously, we did a 1-for-1 transaction in the sense, but again, you just have a greater appreciation because friends would be like, they'd make comments and I'd be like, I earned my right in this chair.
That's
Can you
right.
say the same? And they're like, no. And they'd be like, okay, you want to continue this battle? I'm not going to walk in here and tell you I'm a veteran because I'm not that guy. But just remember that I chose to be here and I wanted to be here. Mommy and daddy didn't pay for this. This isn't just like a side thing. Even though I initially wanted to get a business degree and I'm awful at math, So then I had to change my degree also to integrative studies. And again, but it worked out because that's how you met people. But I was like, I came here to get a degree. We're not leaving until we get a degree.
Yeah.
And so just having that mindset, because again, like I feel it just ties into like the work ethic. So it's like no matter what kind of variation comes your way, you're like, we're going to see this through. And again, I think that just obviously can bleed into other things, but also while you're doing, like, if you can have fun and make it memorable. I mean, yeah, I think our years in college were like some of the best. And then again, like living close by, going to the bars and just like, you know, having fun, but you're like, we don't need to do this. I do remember one time, every now and then, like our other friends, fucking shout out to them. I hope they're all doing well. I don't get to talk to a lot of them anymore just because of life. You know, everybody kind of goes their separate ways. But we went out one particular night and a friend of ours like came to me and she's like, Keith, I want to run this night with you. And I was like, are you sure?
Buckle up.
I was like,
Buttercup.
So like the next day, like I had, you know, work and stuff. So but then me like being the alcoholic athlete that I was in college, I was like, I'll leave my car here. I was like, I'll just, you know, I'll walk our friend home. And I was like, in the morning, I was like, I will run to my car and then go to work. They're like, you can do that? And I was like, can't I? So then I remember like we started easy day, but like I was like, are you sure? Because again, like, you know, it's not good to drink and drive. So like kind of have a plan and then execute the plan, right? This is, you know, light work for us. I think my friend lasted like 20 minutes. And then they were like, we're going home. And I was like, we just started. I was like, you can't prime this engine up and then shut it down. I was like, we're going to keep going. And we did. Like, I think, a certain
Who was it?
Huh?
Who was it?
I'm not going to.
S word or R word?
The second one.
R.
I partied with the S one, but because the S one was always down to party, and the R one was feeling frisky that night. But yeah, she didn't make it very far. They're both fantastic. But yeah, and then the next morning I ran and got my car, and then S word was like, I'm not even gonna go with you to get my car. She's like, I'm too hungover, and I was just like, that's okay. Can't be all built like us.
Right. Well, and veterans are a different breed. Now we may not have been that when we went in, but by the time we got out.
I mean, like, I think it is like there's a certain
hidden gene, a recessive
there's a
gene.
certain type of people that wants to do, you know, what we did, and
That's true.
Yeah.
There's something I kept thinking about, like a lot of our stories we keep talking about, like these people that are, you know, just weak, whatever you want to call it.
They're all important, but
Of course,
Everybody matters.
go ahead.
I guess like a lot of people are complaining about, you know, the newer generation, how soft they are and everything. But I kept thinking, you know, there's always going to be people that step up in every generation that are you know brothers and
sisters
and sisters that are cut from that cloth that will step up and accept that challenge.
Answer the call, and then answer the or drink the beer.
And you can
Now,
spot them too.
a liberal arts college in North Texas is probably not going to have a lot of them.
No,
but they'll be
again,
easy to spot.
Shout out to our friends, because like I remember I was a terrible influence, and like they'd always be down to like write and like and do the thing. So like again, I always appreciate that. So when you look back, though things have changed and we've all kind of gone our separate ways, like you really again just appreciate like what that moment in time was. And again, it always makes you think of like, I've never watched The Office through and through. It's not my show. But that one scene where the guy talks about, he's like, I kind of wish we were new in the good old days before we left them. Like that verbiage alone is just like iconic, because it's so true, because life is forever changing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't see this person as much as I want to, or, you know, whatever. And you're like, you just look back like, but what a run we had. Like,
Sure.
You just really appreciate that. And like, you almost just sit there, smile and laugh. Like sometimes you're like, you know, for some people they're probably like angry. They think back like, that guy's such a dick, or like, oh, I would, you know, X, Y, and Z. But for me, I look back and I'm just like, fucking awesome, dude. Like it was the best. But it helped me kind of grow too, because you look back, right? I see where it's like, okay, I was wrong there.
Yeah.
I didn't handle that well. I said this wrong. Let me be better. Because I think, again, too, people want to be around people that evolve and get better each and every day. And sometimes, right, when you meet people, you're not who you should be. And so they're just not like, not right now, but maybe they come back around and you grew up. And now they're like, now you are more equipped or better for our friendship or with the relationship or whatever. So I try to look back and try to reflect, too, because there's times where I'm like, I could have been better in that regard. I could have been a better friend. I could have not given my unsolicited advice and just kept it to myself. So I do that now, where I'm like, you know, you try to read the room better.
Sure.
And, you know, just be like, did they ask me for my thought on it? Because I used to be like, hey, like, let me tell you this. Like, I really don't want to hear it. But like, that's too fucking bad.
Well, then put your fingers in your ears.
Like, again, there for a while, you're like, well, if you're my best fucking friend, like, you sign up for this. But again, you can't have that mentality where it's like, well, I get to do whatever I want. You just can't do whatever you want and say what you're doing. Heck yeah, it does. When I'm winning, your dad loved it when I was winning. But again, like, as you see, like in Ricky Bobby, he grows up, like we all go through that. And for some people, it takes longer than others. But I think showing that growth is what people truly want to look for also. So I just think that's always important. So you can look back, you can laugh at some of this, and then also, you know, apologize appropriately. Like, hey, look, listen, I was not my best in that season, or I said some really fucked up things to you.
Sure.
I'm really sorry about that.
I forgive you. Oh, you weren't talking to me. Sorry. I'm just kidding.
But you know what I mean? So that was, again, something from college. Again, getting to where I am now, it really helped me kind of grow up. Some people are going to still say I'm a child.
It's in grow up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like for most veterans, there's this very mature level of us that's like, we'll deal with death. It's like, oh, you're gonna go, work on unexploded ordnance. Okay, yeah, we could die. Okay, but then there's the other side of us. Like, there'll be signs. You'll see them. You know, you can spot these guys. Like, oh, when I got recruited for the frat, you know how they found me?
Standing in public.
I was an old guy.
Oh,
Scooting,
that's right. He was homeless. I forgot.
I was an old
They're like,
homeless
oh, man,
guy.
We got this homeless vet.
Homeless
over
guy,
here. We need to-
white beard, long white hair, on a scooter. It was like
pieces of
little
fried chicken
razors.
hanging out of his
Little,
beard.
little razors. Give Navy guys scooters. So,
Scooters are part of the friendship.
this one didn't even have a
Smell
motor.
This is a
It
lot
was-
faster than the boat.
It was a razor. You know, the collapsible kind?
Yeah, dude.
With the skateboard wheels on it?
You don't know pain until you put a razor scooter in your shin. Oh my God.
I was scooting my ass across the campus because when I signed up for these classes, I didn't realize that the campus was that big and that one class was here
Couldn't
and
make
the other
the walk in time.
No, dude, I couldn't. And the other
Show
class was
crippled
way
ass.
over there. So I just brought one of my kids' scooters that they got for Christmas. And I was scooting. I was like, on your left. Just scooting across the campus. And Hank looked over and Party Foul Hank looked over and he's like, I bet you that guy's a veteran. Yeah. You can tell. There'll be signs.
But like Travis said too, like, there are people that answer the call, but then, like, again, it's just like you see that you're cut from that same cloth, and everybody has like their tribe. And yeah, I feel like almost every generation says like the next generation, they're like, oh, this new generation, like, we're guilty of that because you're like Gen Z, you're just like, you're like, I'm not well pleased. But there are a lot of them that do a lot of great things, and then you're like, well,
That's okay.
but like maybe you get a beer with them, maybe not, but like they are doing something that provides a service, and so.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
I
You're
think-
cool. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
I think just, again, try to come back to being like, at the end of the day, like, we are all on this together. We got to keep this ship, afloat. So we could sit here and try to tear each other down or say how one's better than the other, but like, that's not going to get us anywhere. So I think for the younger generation, I think they understand that a little bit better. So even though you maybe not see eye to eye, or you maybe not hang out all the time, you're like, in certain settings, be like, you got my back, I got your back. We're going to do this job, we're going to do it right, and we're going to get home, and we're going to continue on. If we want to break bread and maybe work through our differences, awesome. For some people, they don't really want to do that, and that's okay. But as long as we can continue to push this thing in the right direction, I think that's what's ultimately most important.
I have two things that come to mind. The first one is like, what's your legacy going to be? Like, we have all this experience, we're grown-ass men. How are we going to help the younger generation, right? We can lead the way with like having good habits and good routines and all that stuff, and having our businesses and providing support to the community. So I guess a call to action is like, what's that going to look like for us? You don't have to answer now, but just like something to ponder. The other thing was like at UNT, in the counseling master's program, going back to what you were saying, your personal growth, Heath, of like not giving that unsolicited advice and kind of slowing down and like receiving the other person. That's something I also learned, at UNT in the counseling program. It was like the reflection of feeling, reflection of content, and just holding space for the person. This concept of unconditional positive regard, which when I learned it, I thought, oh, this is really fucking gay. It's like,
Hey, you can't say gay, you retard.
well, I know, but now I can't.
You can't say retard, you fucking.
Oh,
I might get bad hate mail, but this women were crying when Trump was in office during the Zoom and during COVID. It was just, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
It's I dropped out for a year, then went back into the program. Thanks, VA. But
Hey, you earned it.
Yep.
yeah, but like I know Aaron also got his degree, so he knows what we're talking about with those concepts of interaction with other humans and not being an asshole. But which is hard for us as veterans to like adapt to that in the civilian context, and something I struggle with still, because I'm actually like trying to keep that inner Marine alive, because it's like that's what sets us apart like from other people, is like we have that military background. So don't let it fade away in the comfort zone, right? Keep it sharp, but also
it makes
have that human formation.
Yeah.
I think a fair thing just to point out too, honestly, again, for like the veterans and first responders, the people that are cut from this cloth, like we talk and say the things and it doesn't bother people. But again, in today's society, like a lot of these words like cut deep, and it's always kind of hard in the sense like, they're like, you can't say that, you know, this, that, and the other. And like, and that's fair. And it's like picking your times and place, but it's almost like you never actually mean that word from like the derogatory term.
Of
course.
And again, it's just like, honestly, you know, we all chuckle and laugh because like it's just our second language. It's what we were bred through. And for normal people, and again, growing through college, that was something, again, trying to learn, but also showcase. It's like, look, listen, like I come from a place that's, you know, this is not normal for me. I'm trying to fit back into society. So sometimes you say things, they're like, that's terrible. You're, you know, all these other
terrible,
things.
horrible person.
Well, yeah, but so again, I always just try to preference again for the listeners, because they'd be like, they said, you know, all the forbidden words, and it's like it's almost a word of endearment, but like, no, that doesn't count. And you're like, I just letting the, you know, people know that like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what walk of life you are. Like again, we are going to help you because that's who we are. But again, we come from an area where it's like, we call each other like mean names. It's just what it is.
We don't mean it.
No.
First of all, the listeners aren't the target of our ridicule. It's each other here.
That was
for you. So that was not for you. That was for him.
So many people get so upset when you say those words, and like, and I understand that, and they want to do the right thing, but like, just know that it's like, again, I come back to this saying the right thing and showing up.
Yeah,
sure.
Because I'm willing to bet, and again, I could be wrong, but I always would tell our more liberal friends, we love them dearly.
Point of
He's got their faces on the wall
but
with
like, they
thumbtacks.
all say the right thing, but I was like, are they the person that's going to danger? Versus like, again, in those moments, like, are you going to be courageous or you're not? And I'm not saying that they aren't courageous, but again, there's just something in us that you're like, these people need help. Or like, going into a burning building, you're like, all right, let's go. Like, here we go. Like, that's just, it is what it is. And I was like, but also like, I may not say the right thing. We may chuckle and laugh, but it's like, but I will. And it does, when you get in there, you're not gonna be like, who'd you vote for? Or like, what terms do you allow or not allow? That's not the questions. Yeah. I'm here to help you as a human being.
Right.
And I just think that gets overskipped because again, if you say one wrong thing or you wear a certain hat or the red, white, and blue, and they're just like, I just know you're a terrible person. And you're like, but I'm not though. But again, if we can't have the conversation, but again, like in certain settings, right? There'll be times where I'm with people and I'll like let out a term and they're like, please don't say that around me. And you're like, I will not say that around you. Like, I will respect you. Yeah. Be like, we said retarded because we were just joking because we were referencing a movie from the 2000s or whatever. But again, for sometimes people are like, I don't like that word. And you're like, okay, I won't say it around you. I can't promise I won't say it forever, but I promise you I'm not picking on the person that can't cohabit by themselves.
Right.
We're just picking on each other because that's, again, where we come from.
It's our language.
It really is.
And in context, it was a joke, and we were one-upman.
100%. But again, just like...
And we would never intentionally hurt somebody's feelings by directing that at them.
Right.
Like you said, it's our love language, so we're picking on each other.
Well, I know other people pick that apart, but I just wanted to preference that. But like,
I appreciate you guys bringing that up. And this podcast...
Because again, you never know who's listening, or, people are like, oh, I heard him say it. It's like, we need to fire that person. It's like, well, hold on. Freedom of speech, number one. But number two, it's like, I promise you we're not a bad person. It's like, we're not out to get again at anybody. Yeah. We're just ragging each other because anybody that's ever served or done that, like, that's all you. And it is your love language, because if you don't like somebody in the service, you don't talk to them.
That's right.
Right? They don't give you the time of day.
Absolutely true.
And that's how you're like, oh, I am not well liked. But if you're getting called every name under the sun, you're just like, they love me. Exactly. They really love me.
They're thinking about me. They thought about what new name to call me while they were sleeping last night. Yep. Yeah, it may seem socially unacceptable and disturbed or whatever, but enjoy your brief view into the world of veterans talking to each other and seeing each other and sharing our stories. But we're not done.
It's always so good to see the boys.
Yeah, but that's
I just wish it was Saturday, because what are Saturdays for? The boys.
That's right. I still want to hear the malaria.
Days for the boys for me, but yeah, the malaria pill.
Travis, I'm not forgetting. That's like a dog. I'm a dog with a bow in there, man.
It's not that great. But, all right, so first time I went to Africa, we had to take malaria pills, and I don't remember what they are, but there's two you take. There's one you take. You start taking it like a week before you go, or 2 or 3 days before you go, or something like that. You take it the whole time you're there, and then you get back, and there's a second one that you take for like a few days or a few weeks, whatever it is. I don't remember. But I had just started taking my malaria pills, and we were having our big end of year parade at the academy. So it was like the big. It wasn't the graduation parade, but it was like the parade where all the seniors leave the cadet, the cadet wing, and the junior class takes over as the seniors, as the leaders of the cadet wing and all that. And this was I think I was going into my junior year, and just started taking these malaria pills for our trip to Africa coming up that summer. And same thing with the malaria pills, except the empty stomach thing. Except malaria pills will just make you sick whether you have an empty stomach or a full stomach. We were standing in parade. It is May or June in Colorado, so not like Texas heat, but still it gets pretty warm in the sun and all that. And it was hot. And my stomach's just man, I do not feel good. And so I had to fall out. It was the only time I ever fell out of any formation or parade or anything at the academy. I stepped out, and I didn't get 2 steps out of formation. I just, all over the grass, right in front of where the juniors are coming back.
They all marched through.
And they all marched right through it, and I was like, I'm so sorry. But that was part of the malaria pill story. They also give you really, really crazy, vivid nightmares.
Really?
I had this nightmare. So there was every cadet squadron has different murals and stuff, and my best friend from the academy was in the Squadron 32, and they had a big, they're the rats or whatever, and they had a big rat up on the wall. And I had this craziest, most vivid dream I've ever had in my life, where I was walking down that hallway, either going to his room or coming from his room, from hanging out, and this rat jumped out of the wall and started chasing me down the hallway. And it was the most I woke up just
I've heard
wet
stories
from
of
sweat, sweats, waking up in the middle. I was just man, that was the craziest thing.
See, I've heard about barracks bunnies before, but they're never rats. I was not Air Force in the academy, though, so maybe that's an Air Force thing.
If you'd have ran a little bit faster, you might have beaten the rat like you've never beaten me.
I think it's really interesting, too, and I appreciate you bringing up malaria. I'm not going to take it down the other rabbit trail, but the rabbit trail. But I think about how being a veteran, and they're always trying different medicines on us, right? For me in the 90s, it was anthrax. You need these 6 shots of anthrax. Malaria pills. And I heard all kinds of wonderful stories from Marines about malaria pills from going to Desert Storm. They came back when I was in the units. Yeah, it's just interesting. They're always trying things on us, and you go through boot camp, of course. I don't know, in the Marine Corps boot camp at least, and they have the pneumatic shotguns. There's and you're your arm's swollen up, and there's juice running down, and you're just I hope there was good stuff in there,
It's like in my survival vest.
Peanut butter shot. It was the big
the
one, right?
golf ball in the ass cheek.
Careful, I have a needle. I got 2 of those SOBs, dude.
Oh,
dude, yeah. And then after that, they're oh, now for people that are allergic to penicillin, could just take a gel oral, and you're just oh, but the rest of us have to get this gigantic needle shoved in my ass, and then you're and twice.
There's nothing that's good about that.
Yeah, we had these little pills in the SV2 that the air crew wear a survival vest, right? Everything that can kill you is on the left, and everything that can save you is on the right. And there's one that should be right in the fucking middle. All right, and it was the anti-diarrhea pill. because like
That
dehydration.
does seem important.
It does, yeah.
Dehydration, will kill you quick.
Yes, it
know,
will.
Your airplane crashes and you're in the jungle and you got the squirts, right? The dehydration will kill you quick. They tell you, do not take this pill. Do not take. You will not shit for 6 months. It will dry you up like the Sahara Desert.
They couldn't give
baby.
those to Marines.
It will dry you up so bad, your insides will be like sandpaper.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. Do not take that pill. I was smart enough I didn't take it after my last little experience with take this with food. But one of the other crewmen on my flight, he was like feeling a little uneasy.
No.
Yeah, and he took it. He took it out of his survival vest and popped that little pill.
There's always one guy that's just like fearless, and you're just like, no. Now we're all. You talk about a rat. You're like, who?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens to him. Yeah. He's the experiment.
And took this little pill. Hey, dude, it was like we were checking on him. Like after the doc came by, I was like, hey, dude, it's been like 5 days.
That sounds awful.
Now at this point, you're going to have to tell me when you take a shit because we're going to put you in the hospital if you don't.
Get a stomach pumped or something.
I mean, that's similar to MREs already. I've been out in the field taking MREs back to back to back to back to back, and you come back and you wait days and days.
Yeah,
days.
Which one was your favorite?
Do what?
Your favorite meal?
Mac.
Well, I like the effect of like the later meals, the tamale. I'd eat the tamale and it just stink up the whole room.
That's terrible.
Well, I was a staff sergeant. I wouldn't mind Marines bother me, so it's like, don't go in there.
Yeah. At least you were kind enough to let them know. I don't know how much time we have left, but I would just finish with one thing that I miss the most, or again, we try to do.
Wait, you get to finish.
Before you.
Dude, it's like a race. First one done wins.
I say we got 10 minutes.
Okay, solid. One thing that I missed, but again with Travis and Kenny being here, we every Thanksgiving there for a few years. It was like 5-6 years in a row. We would run the turkey trot in Dallas, and then we would shotgun beer like afterwards. So again, just talking about like the camaraderie, but again, we were just talking about some of the stuff a little bit ago, and they just had me think on that. Where I was like, I really enjoyed, how we would find time, we would do that. Again, it was like a fitness thing. So again, I encourage people to also get out there, do some cardio, and then just try to be in better shape. And then obviously Thanksgiving Day, it's a big American holiday, so to spend it with like your favorite friends. And then, it's still early enough in the day, and then obviously you go about your normal, traditional schedule. For a lot of people, it's watch the Cowboy game, and then have dinner with your family, which are all great traditions. But again, we just always enjoyed doing that, and like every year it got bigger. And this past year was like the first year that I couldn't make it back. I still did it, shotgun the beer. It just wasn't the same, obviously. But again, finding the ways to make that hey, I'm gonna continue to go out here and do it. And now I've made a couple friends in the Florida area that I live, so now I'm gonna rope them out and be like, hey, you're gonna run this 8 miles with me, and then we're gonna shotgun beer. Or at least they run a 5K. That's the minimum that you have to run is the 5K.
Sure.
Always gonna push people to run a little bit further. Again, that's just something that we've all done. We've had such a good time with it, and again, it's just real good core memories. And again, just finding opportunities to do that, because again, it just it helps keep you young. Anytime you obviously incorporate a few beers with your fellow brethren, I just feel like it makes it that much better. I almost feel like that's only the reason why beer is it's here. I mean, you can have glasses of water with your friends, but it was casual. But you had those drinks, with your friends. You're like, man, that fucking night was fantastic. The stories were phenomenal. I was crying, laughing. I mean, after we leave here and, go get dinner, and I mean, it's going to be that way. I'm sure someone's going to tell a story, and I'm just going to be crying, laughing, because it's just I forgot that I did that. Because every night, there's so much stuff that happens, but you talked earlier, we were you're the reason, and I had forgotten about that. Because again, so much stuff happens, but then someone reminds that, you're like, oh yeah, or you said this thing. You say so many things in life, but then there's always every now and then I recall profound things, for example, and I said this at your wedding, but we talked about we were training for the Murph and friendships, and I was like, oh, blood is thicker than water, and Travis was like, do you actually know the full saying? Yeah. And he was like, blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. He's like, just because you're born in a family doesn't mean you can't find a brother along the way who is more family to you than your own family. And honestly, again, for people like us, it's so true. We love our family, love my mom, love my dad, right? And everybody, but the brothers that I've made, it's leaps and bounds, because they know my darkest secrets. My parents don't need to know all the terrible things that I've done. Again, that's what my funeral's for. If I die before my parents do, which hopefully not, because no parent should have to bury their kid, but it happens all the time.
Yeah, I mean, your friend, he'll know all your deepest.
That's what I'm saying,
because he was there.
100%. Travis's wedding, and they're like, "Oh, who has like nice things to say? You know, get up there and like give a toast." We're all looking at each other like, all this stuff that I have to say is terrible. This is
Mom is right over there.
Yeah, this is not the stuff you're like, "Hey, Mom, let me tell you this terrible thing that your son did."
He reached down and picked up a flower.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're giving like the G-rated, like, so we went and got coffee one time, and like, we just had the best time. Because like you can't tell those stories, but like again, when you have nights out with your friends, like that's when like everything is off the rip, off the cuff, and like to me again, like that is like true genuinism, like just being present, like showing who you are through and through. But again, like I've always remembered that he told me that because I was like, that is so true. And so obviously just different things you hear throughout. But again, when you hear something you said, someone's like, I've never forgot that. And then when it's something that's, you know, risque or terrible, you're just like, I'm so glad you never forgot that. You're like, because I did. But you're like, I'm glad that stuck with you.
Well, yeah, the family you make is better than the family you got.
Yeah, you get
to some extent.
Guys.
I mean, no offense to the family you got. You didn't have a choice about it. But you get a choice about this one, and you
do, because again, like, and since the like family is like always kind of there for you, depending on your like dynamics, right?
Yeah.
But like when stuff messes up, like, you know, they're gonna be for you, because again, that's kind of like in the fine print that you sign. But again, like as a friend, is someone that you choose. Again, like you continually choose them, because at some point, right, you could do something as a friend that's heinous or so messed up, where you're like, you know what, I'm not your friend anymore, and then you're like, damn, right?
Yeah.
But that happens all the time.
Yeah. Well,
so again,
not to everybody.
Not to everybody. Have it to where it's like people are like, I'm still gonna show up to be your friend. I'm still gonna be there. But also like you have friends like when you do mess up, they're like, hey man, I need to talk to you like one on one. Like we need to hash this out. I didn't like how you said this or how this played out. But again, like you don't know until your friends again are honest with you. Because I've had those conversations where I said something, thought nothing of it, and I get pulled aside and they're like, it really bothered me. And again, you're like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. And then you don't say it, because again, that shows that you respect that person. Because if you just say it, like, oh, I'm sorry, and then you say it again, they're like, so you didn't care at all what I had to say.
Well, yeah, isn't it crazy that conflicts to some extent build friendships?
For sure. But again, like, then you really see what you're made of in that aspect. But then also, like, when you come out of that, and then it's like, look at our friendship now. Like, again, one of our friends, like, I messed up, said a certain word that she was not a fan of, and we weren't friends for a little while. And then by the grace, like kind of, you know, got an opportunity to, you know, reconnect, hash things out. And now we're like really good friends. And like, she'll be at our like little event later, but it's like, you have that. And again, I could have been like, you know, weak, loser. Like,
you're not going to win any friends that way.
If you have guys the same way, they're just like, you have to be like, hey man, I'm really sorry about that. But then just know the room, or like, you know, with one friend, you're like, nothing's off the cuff. You're like, those are the easiest, right? But then other ones, you're like, all right, I know not to say this. They feel a certain way about it, but out of respect, I'm not going to go down that road, because I care what they think, and I'm trying to, you know, respect them as much as possible, because that's what, you know, friends do. But then they also know, they're like, again, like I always joke, like no one answers my phone calls on speaker, because they know.
Yeah, that's like
something's coming out.
That's it. It's like no cap. That's skibbity stuff right there.
It's not that like it's bad, but like definitely like in public, be like, did he just say that? Like, or like, oh my god, this guy is crazy. But then I'm also like, you're the one that answered the phone on speaker, so.
And Travis is so humble, and you never hear Travis, you know, blowing his own horn. No. And the thing is, like, a while ago, he just slipped up, just kind of, you know, oh, I was in the Air Force, and I didn't have. When I was in Africa, really, real humble, you know, humility.
No, 100%. But again, you appreciate that.
But when I was calling him those names over there, it's because I really meant it.
Well, I'm going to wrap us up. Thank you so much for joining for Rabbit Holes with Aaron. We had such a good time, and we're going to call it. Bye.